We back, Diavolo here, and you filthy anime onlys better click off this video if you don't want to get spoiled on the pinnacle of the battles that happen inside of the Shibuya incident arc. This fight stars 3 of the series' most beloved characters who, over the space of 6 grueling chapters, laid their body, soul, and future all on the line for the sake of their own personal gain. Apart from Todo, man's here to back his brother up and double team this patchy ass creep. So anyway, sit back, subscribe if you are new around here and interested in a multitude of similar styled anime and manga content, but now, get ready for 120% the greatest portion of the Shibuya incident arc. So, kicking things off and following probably one of the saddest moments in the series so far, and as Nobara seemingly lay there, still, right in front of his eyes, Yuji's resolve shatters. Taking the opportunity to possibly take out another stupid student, Mahito follows up, breaking Yuji's spirit by battering the sorcerer's body into the ground and sealing with his own application of Black Flash. He kicks him in the head and proclaims that Yuji came to Shibuya with some pathetic half-assed determination. That naivety now is what left him open. This is war, not some battle of emotions to fix sublime issues, but a clash of truths against his fragile justice. He's figured it out now. Yuji and him are one and the same, but he will kill Yuji without a second thought, just like how Yuji saves people without any hesitation. This is now the instincts of a curse against the so-called pride obtained by a baseline human. It's a battle to determine who will be the one standing in 100 years from now. Asking the sorcerer how the hell he even thought he'd be able to beat him, or if he has any idea about the amount of curses he's stepped on and killed, Mahito hears no response, making him confident that Yuji's done for. He jokingly states that he actually cares about how many people he's taken out. However, as he morphs his hand into a praying mantis appendage, screams that he'll surely forget about Yuji too before going to slash down on the knocked out sorcerer. Taking him by surprise, and just before the cursed spirit lands the killing blow, the sound of a single clap echoes through the subway corridor. Suddenly, Mahito is left discombobulated and confused, standing in an entirely different spot in the hallway, wondering who the hell this guy with a scar on his face is. Having taken the cursed spirit's place, one of Kyoto's most handsome men stands over Yuji. Peacefully, he recites a poem that conveys the idea that those who prosper are also destined to decline. In this world of Jujutsu though, there are some who are considered the exception, and while taking off his jacket and saying hello to his best friendo, Todo proudly reiterates that they are the exception. Entering the platform, Kyoto's first year Arata rushes up to Todo's side and informs him that he's finished treating Nobara with his curse technique. Arata, who takes a bit more of a managerial role, has the ability Painkiller. This technique allows Arata to stop existing injuries from getting any worse. More on that ability in a second. Arata sadly doesn't think that Nobara will survive though, and asks his senpai to not place any blame on him if she doesn't make it through. Uninterested in idle chatter, Todo simply asks Arata to treat his brother as well. Snapping his head in Yuji's direction, Todo yells at his broken partner that it's time to wake up as this fight has only just begun. Curled up and in the fetal position, Yuji can't bring himself to get up and fight any longer. He reveals that Nanami died as well as Nobara. Coupled with his guilt over allowing Sukuna to rampage through the city, the young man is physically unable to forgive himself. Screaming out that he couldn't do anything and that he's nothing more than a murderer, the student falters and begins to believe that people will die simply because he lives. Love struck by Yuji's beaten demeanor, Mahito leaps at the trio of sorcerers and attempts to slash at them with his serrated arm blade. Todo activates Boogie Woogie to switch Arata's position on the ground behind him with Mahito's position in the air. He then, without hesitation, claps again to swap Mahito with Yuji, positioning the cursed spirit right back in front of him. Unable to block, Todo delivers a powerful snap kick that sends his adversary crashing into the ground. The impact ricochets Mahito towards Arata, but Todo slaps his big hands together and trades places so his pair doesn't suffer any damage. Across the other side of the room, Mahito quickly recovers and laughs from the thrill of grappling with his new opponent's ability. Stoically, Todo reiterates to his brother that now he is amongst men. He needn't limit himself with such narrow-mindedness. They are Jujutsu sorcerers. Him, Todo, Nobara, and Nanami, they together are Jujutsu sorcerers. So even if one is defeated, as long as the others continue to live, no one will have ever truly passed. There are no sins or punishments. Instead, the moment they choose the life of a sorcerer, they cannot be limited by the death of a friend. One cannot look for meaning or logic in death, and those who do can at times defile the memories of those who have passed. Throwing his jacket to the ground and ready to place his life on the line, he asks Yuji what he's been entrusted with. He doesn't need to answer now. However, until he finds that answer, Todo pleads with him to never stop moving. For those who live the life of a Jujutsu sorcerer, this is the punishment that they must endure. Done with getting Yuji back on track, Todo charges ahead to face his special grade curse spirit while Arata applies his technique to Yuji's wounds. Arata explains his technique, Painkiller. As I said, Arata can pretty much sustain the damage already occurred so it won't get any worse. He also reveals that he's done the same for Nobara and reassures Yuji that there is a very small possibility she could survive. It's not a 0% chance of survival, but as he goes to leave with the broken girl, exclaims that he mustn't get his hopes up of her living. But, what has the entire freaking community decided to go and do for years at this point now? Go and get their damn hopes up, oh my lord. At this point, can't we just confirm that most likely the girl's not around anymore? Either way, small tangent over. Like all of us Muppets as well reading this series, Yuji also has his spirit slightly reignited thanks to Arata's kindness. In front of Todo, Mahito transforms his torso into a spiked net and lunges his top half at the sorcerer with the intention of ensnaring him. Todo claps to change their positions and reinforces his hand with cursed energy to grab the netted part of Mahito's body from behind. Annoyingly, Todo is just too damn strong and he straight up tore the netting apart, allowing the sly dog Mahito to transfigure the back of his body to mirror the front. Above the hulked up beauty that is Todo now, Mahito nearly grabs down on him, but the sorcerer claps again to get right back behind his adversary, making Mahito stumble forth. Looking down on him now, Todo taunts Mahito, asking if the curse even wants to touch him. Thinking to himself, Mahito was impressed with the sorcerer's ability to dodge while keeping his distance from Yuji, but he still has a few tricks in store himself. Randomly and from behind, a small transfigured human that Mahito must have dropped earlier activates and transforms into a large spike, almost skewering the sorcerer. Although his shirt is slightly cut, Todo avoids the spike by simply adjusting his posture. Preparing his next strike, Mahito hopes that Todo will switch, as right now he's sure that he'll eventually figure it out. He can feel it swelling up inside of him, and as time slows, thinks that he wants it again. He's so close. He can almost feel the taste, the true essence of his soul, ready to bust forth with another black flash. Suddenly, a single clap rings out, gifting Mahito the moment he wanted. Yet, to his left now stands our boy, having taken the place of his brother and with his fists fully imbued in curse energy. Remembering the final words Hanami said, Yuji apologizes for almost taking the easy road out and using his sins as an excuse to run away from everything. With his fists throbbing with curse energy, Yuji unleashes his point-blank black flash, connecting with Mahito and shattering the cursed spirit's guard, sending him rocketing back across the platform inside of the Shibuya station. With his resolve returned, Yuji remembers his teacher and tells him that he'll be sure to take on his share of suffering as well. Amused, Mahito smiles and regenerates his arm, commenting that Yuji, that little rascal, is back from the dead. Finally, if you ask me. Sheesh, Todo, he tears that shirt off, ever continuing to undress himself and welcomes Yuji back into the fray of the battle. I don't even know why I had to do it like that, but I just had to. Man, I love this battle so much. Just as soon as Yuji is down in the dumps again, who shows up and manages to get his ass back on track? Well, no one other than his big bro, of course, Todo. Out of all of his teachers like Nanami, Gojo, Choso, even I guess at some points, and Todo here, I find it funny how Yuji always progresses to an even higher degree in some aspects with Todo by his side. Todo's just talk no jutsu incarnate right now. Also, while I'm off on this tangent, check out some of the new merch I've been making recently. I'm trying to make it more anime based instead of just the tech stuff I had beforehand, and include things from a variety of different series that I've covered in the past. So if you have any moments that you'd like to see on the shirt from a bunch of series that I've covered, let me know down below and I'll see what I can cook up. Anyway, back with the fight, Mahito shapeshifts his fingers into a long, double-edged blade and tries to stab Yuji with it. Countering, Yuji parries the hand and grabs the spike by catching it between his fingers. Throwing a fat kick towards Mahito from behind, Yuji attempts to throw the curse into his partner. Mahito attempts to counter by transforming his free arm into a spiked vine and lashing it at Todo. The grade 1 sorcerer though, claps to switch his position with the curse and lands behind Yuji, avoiding the attack. Doing the same weird thing as just like before, Mahito swaps his body's polarity to avoid taking a possible hit from behind. He then quickly enlarges both of his arms and uses his forearms to block Todo and Yuji from capitalizing on the situation. Taking a moment to think to himself, Mahito recognizes that Todo is at full health and doubts one touch from idle transfiguration would be enough to kill him. When it comes to Yuji though, he believes that the student is nearing his end at only around 10% left. Himself, after all of the attacks he's taken, thinks he's probably at around 40%. Surprisingly, Mahito admits that even though Nobara is a nobody, she managed to leave her mark on the fight with the damage she'd done on him. Sucking his hands back to his original size, Mahito knows that he first needs to deal with his switching. He transforms his left arm into a fin-like slicing weapon to fend off Todo and tosses a transfigured human out of his right hand at Yuji. Todo immediately switches his place with the transfigured human to get behind the curse, taking Mahito completely off guard, who actually slices his own ability in half. Looking like a stunned mullet now, Mahito was unaware Todo was even able to switch places with a non-living subject and is impressed with how he picked up on his transfigured human's energy before he even released it. Feeling himself now, Todo believes that his friendship with Yuji can't last if he remains stagnant. Even now, Mahito, this dirty rat of a curse spirit, can use Black Flash. He ponders if it's him that's been left behind now, asking himself if he's gonna allow his brother to feel alone once more. Aoi Todo transcends who he once was to step up, unleashing his first ever use of a Black Flash. Again, and just like before with Yuji, the blow is powerful enough that it shatters Mahito's blocking arm and sends him sliding back across the station. Although, unlike Yuji, this has no effect on Mahito's soul due to him not possessing that ability, sadly. However, now that all three of these individuals have released their Black Flashes, the Cursed Spirit recognizes that all three fighters are reaching 120% of their maximum potential. Randomly, something starts swelling up inside of Mahito's mouth. Instantly after, the curse vomits numerous small transfigured humans into his hand and crushes them all together in his palms to activate Soul Multiplicity. With no warning, the jacked up Mahito immediately unleashes Body Repel, creating several giant monstrous mouths to attack the two stunned sorcerers. The technique is so demonstrably strong that it easily breaks the ceiling of the subway, spewing itself into the streets of Shibuya above ground. Being like the brute genius he is, Todo recognizes that Mahito is countering Boogie Woogie at this moment by attacking from every single direction. Atop the mass of transfigured humans, Mahito screams out to Yuji that this is it, it's their last chance to curse each other. Mad cause this freak somehow forgot about him, Todo claps, placing Mahito right next to him. Unconcerned for his own safety at this point because he wants to prove a point, he straight up tackles the curse to the floor, allowing a pissed Yuji to follow up and kick a man while he's down. Unnerved, Mahito quickly detaches his own head before Yuji could kick it off. Mahito's detached body spawns its own freaking bug-like head while simultaneously spinning its blade arms rapidly, nearly cutting the two sorcerers. While Todo jumps above one blade arm, Yuji ducks below the other, giving Mahito's detached head time to form its own separate body. Slamming a few souls together, Mahito activates Soul Multiplicity, a technique in which all of the souls with weak rejection come together to form one body, known as the Polymorphic Soul Isimur. This, in my opinion, is like why this battle is so freaking top tier. Mahito's JoJo-esque stance there behind his stand-ass looking Soul Isimur, but more or less what I'm trying to say about this is this dude's constant ability to evolve over time is actually crazy. Every day he must have just been tinkering away in the silver system with his ability, trying to craft the most devious and soul-violating weapons he could figure out. He is an utter demon, and like how he taunts Yuji is just phenomenal, and I love their relationship. This is just the pinnacle of it right here. Anyway, flashing back to the heat of the battle, Todo claps repeatedly and continues to switch positions between the 5 fighters on the platform. He believes that Mahito's original dismembered body contains 80% of his power, while the head possesses 20%. The plan is for Yuji to finish off the detached head, while Todo takes care of the transfigured human, which he guesses is probably like around a grade 2 or 3 curse. However, Todo grossly underestimates the Polymorphic Soul Isimur's power, and is caught off guard by a powerful back fist. Reeling from a hit so hard it had to have been Yuki or his dad hitting him, Todo can do nothing as the Polymorphic Soul Isimur follows up with a right hook that sends the grade 1 sorcerer crashing through the side of a nearby building. Continuing the uncontrollable path, Todo falls out the other side of the building, stunned from the impact. The Polymorphic Soul Isimur jumps above the injured sorcerer and attempts to crush him on the way down. Luckily, Todo lands on his feet and is able to avoid the follow-up kick from his opponents. Picking up a piece of flying rubble in the process, Todo imbues it with cursed energy before tossing it at the Soul Isimur. Instantly, Todo switches with the rock to get right behind his opponent and delivers a powerful right hook that literally turns the Polymorphic Soul Isimur into a freaking pancake. To Todo's surprise, the transfigured human only took one hit because the PSI's explosive power comes from expending so many weak souls at once. Standing there, Todo figures out how the transfigured human attack specialists work, just as two more arrive to confront him. Feeling free from Todo's interference for a bit, Mahito piles on the pressure against Yuji. Slamming his hands down, he activates Body Repel, creating long eel-like transfigured heads with spikes along their side to attack. Yuji gets between each of the attacks in order to find an opening to dropkick Mahito. The curse counters by grabbing Yuji's leg and throwing him into the ground below. The impact breaks the ground apart and sends Yuji's body along the street, back to the area of Sukuna's destruction. While Yuji is reeling from the pain of the hit, Mahito moves in to capitalize on the situation. However, the curse is disappointed to find out that Todo has suddenly rejoined Yuji's side. Standing there, Big Bro Todo taunts Mahito for really trying to avoid a 2-on-1 fight, as in his eyes, this is a freaking beating. Blown away with how not even 2 polymorphic soul isomers were enough to stall Todo, he knows that landing a hit on him will be difficult and using domain expansion with Yuji around will invoke Sukuna's rage. At this current point, Mahito can't configure his barrier to exclude specific people, so there is only one thing he can resort to. On a whim, he decides to employ a technique he saw a specific demon use earlier on in Shibuya. The special grade decides that it's all or nothing and activates his domain expansion, the self-embodiment of perfection, for 0.2 seconds. Instantly, Todo responds by casting a simple domain that he learned from Yuki. Even faster though, and unconcerned for himself in this, Yuji boosts forward towards Mahito in an attempt to exercise him before he could activate Idol Transfiguration. Sadly for the two brothers though, the fastest was Mahito, who had already awakened through Black Flash. Usually, when casting a domain, a sorcerer first needs to realize an innate domain, then activate the instant effect of a curse technique inside of that domain. Thanks to his awakening due to Black Flash though, Mahito was able to pull off this unrealistically fast combination. All of a sudden, Mahito enters Sukuna's innate domain and tells him to shut up and watch, as Yuji will be dead before they can even switch places. Back in Shibuya, Mahito's self-embodiment of perfection disappears just as quickly as it was cast. Looking down, Todo watches as suddenly his left arm transfigures, concerning Yuji who stops dead in his tracks. Running up, Mahito punches Yuji from behind and knocks him to the ground. Thinking on the spot, Todo quickly acts and severs his own hand using curse energy. However, this leaves Todo defenseless against Mahito's next attack. Unable to activate Idol Transfiguration so soon after casting his domain though, Mahito instead opts for a physical attack and lands a devastating direct hit to Todo's guts with Black Flash. The power obtained in Mahito's Black Flash sends Todo shooting back across the destroyed area of Shibuya. Despite suffering a direct hit, Todo somehow survives and is able to land back on his feet. Blown away with how in the world he survived, Mahito notices that the sorcerer concentrated all of his curse energy to the area of the impact in order to minimize the damage. Ignoring the minor setback, Mahito's curse technique returns and he prepares to end Todo with his next use of Idol Transfiguration. Todo's necklace, which was slightly cut back when he cut his hand off before, suddenly falls and clatters open, revealing a picture of Yuji along with the idol that Todo loves. In that moment, it catches Mahito's eye and distracts him for just a second. This gives Todo just enough time to clap, using Mahito's own damn hands in order to activate Boogie Woogie one more time. Having slapped that hand, Todo switches places with Yuji, who, somehow, knew what was about to happen and is already in the middle of swinging a devastating right hook. Watching the fist approaching, Mahito realizes his predicament far too late, before he is struck directly in the face by Yuji's Black Flash. Nearby, Todo lays on the ground looking at his hand, grateful that it's only slightly burned from touching Mahito. Back in the battle and extremely thankful for all of the help so far in this fight, Yuji looks back towards his big bro and silently thanks him, but now he's gonna take it from here. Heavily injured now, Mahito activates Soul Multiplicity and creates another polymorphic soul isomer to hold off Yuji. The sorcerer and the transfigured human trade parries and punches in quick succession, while Mahito hangs back trying to regain some breath. Mahito admits that getting hit with Black Flash at this stage of the fight is bad and commends Todo for being a pain in the ass until the very end. The special grade quickly disregards this because he believes he's found the truest essence of his soul after unleashing Black Flash for a second time. In front of him, Yuji quickly uses a spinning kick to defeat the polymorphic soul Isimor before turning his attention back to Mahito. Looking at the patchy curse, he notices Mahito changing his shape along with a massive burst of curse energy being emitted by the process. Activating idle transfiguration once more, the cursed spirit sheds its human-like appearance and evolves into its final form, the instant spirit body of distorted killing. Feeling reborn, Mahito asks Yuji to celebrate the occasion by wishing him a happy birthday. Standing there, Yuji can feel that this transfiguration is unlike any other and wonders what improvements it brings to his opponents. Happy with himself, Mahito explains that because he's learned Black Flash, he finally understands his true, unbridled soul. Screwing up his face in disgust, Yuji jokes that he didn't take Mahito as one for a journey of self-discovery. Jokingly agreeing with him, the curse also believes that he's just getting started, and only once he's killed Yuji can he truly feel born anew. Using the improved strength granted by instant spirit body of distorted killing, Mahito whips his hand and creates a giant shockwave to try and take the sorcerer out. Yuji's reflexes are fast enough for him to roll under the whip-like appendage and dive straight into a head kick. Mahito, who, like, bruh, what are those glasses he's wearing now? What is that head? What even is it on his head? It's like a crown. I do like the look of it. But he's probably got like TOEFL level auditory spec, and he somehow avoids the head kick while at the same time wrapping the tendrils around Yuji's foot before, instantaneously after retracting the tendrils, wounding the student's foot in the process. The cursed spirit follows up by whipping his tail at the sorcerer, but somehow Yuji manages to block the strike with its knee. Getting in close to each other now, Mahito throws a left hook. Still, Yuji parries the attack and delivers a swift hit to the body while Mahito's hand is deflected. Making things even more difficult for our boy though, it turns out that Mahito's transformed state provides skin so tough it even surpasses Choso's hardened blood and nullifies Yuji's attack. With one arm blocked, Mahito uses his free arm to attack with the tendril blades on the back of his elbow. This slash cuts open the side of Yuji's blocking arm and allows Mahito to capitalize while his adversary is on the back foot. Darting in, Mahito follows up with a flurry of rapid blows, each with an increasing speed and ferocity. Yuji is initially able to deflect everything, proving just how naturally gifted the dude is, but he soon finds that his counterattacks aren't reaching Mahito at all. This show of strength forces the sorcerer to recognize that Mahito has evolved into a completely different being than before his transformation. Breaking through the faltering guard, Mahito grabs Yuji's face and slams him into the street, destroying the ground from the impact and collapsing them back into the train tunnels of Shibuya. The falling rubble then smashes the piping, causing the crater to slowly begin filling with water. Standing in a pool of water, Yuji knows that the only way he can achieve victory is by landing a Black Flash. No, more specifically, he needs to lay him out with a Black Flash imbued with his maximum curse energy. Remembering the time he was told that there isn't a single sorcerer who can use it at will, Yuji slightly loses his footing due to the general exhaustion and the ground beneath his feet giving way due to the water. Mahito attempts to take advantage of Yuji's small lapse by rushing in. However, the cursed spirit immediately stops. The tendrils on the back of his elbow partially disintegrate and the patch-faced goon even begins coughing up blood. Cracking up at how tired he's become, Mahito knows that getting hit by Black Flash so soon after activating domain expansion seriously injured him. Yuji, on the other hand, bangs on his leg in order to wake it back up and regains his balance. Amused with their final standoff, Mahito states that both of them still have plenty left in the tank. Kicking the fight back off, Mahito makes the first move, creating a giant splash in the water from his incredibly fast movements. Yuji immediately clenches his fist in its palm and channels all of his curse energy into it. Bursting through the water, Mahito attempts to attack Yuji from behind, but our boy ducks under the strike in time before easily parrying the curse's follow-up strike. Facing each other and with nowhere to run now, Yuji and Mahito prepare to let loose with their own powered-up strikes. So, inside of Jujutsu Kaisen, not a single sorcerer, as we know, has been able to use Black Flash at will. In this moment of battle though, Yuji has performed so well with it that he fools you, making you think that that's exactly what he's doing. Mahito is fully aware that Yuji will try and end the fight using Black Flash. He knows that going in recklessly will end in his demise, and so in preparation has set in motion a countermeasure. In the midst of their exchange of punches, Mahito partially deactivates the instant spirit body of distorted killing to the left side of his body, catching Yuji by surprise. He plans on transfiguring his body to avoid the attack, while also reinforcing the deactivated area with curse energy. With Yuji's curse energy completely focused in his fists, Mahito believes his neck is wide open, and that's how he'll end it here. As suspected, Yuji lands a fat hit on the deactivated area of Mahito's body. Believing he's won now, Mahito swings forth at Yuji's neck with his elbow. However, In that moment, a sudden second impact completely throws off the trajectory of Mahito's slash, dumbfounding the silly curse. So, you see, back in the past, Divergent Fist was born out of Yuji's bad habits, and over time he corrected them, losing the technique in the process. But earlier on in Shibuya, and ever since his fight with Choso, Yuji has been able to control Divergent Fist and has used it to disrupt Mahito's plans. Having ducked underneath Mahito's previous attack, Yuji prepares his own, while Mahito nervously tries to slash back with his elbow. Suddenly, a familiar voice tells the cursed spirit to listen closely, as there is no way he doesn't know this fact already. Looking like he himself, Himothy, Todo stands above the crater, still determined to help his best friend. He tells the cursed spirit that an arm is merely a decoration, and while swinging his limbs together one last time states that the act of applause is the acclamation of the soul itself. Due to Todo's charisma and the threat of Boogie Woogie activating just before, Mahito immediately turns around to anticipate the switching places. He slashes behind him but hits nothing but air, completely fooled by the utter genius of a big brother. Looking down with a smile, Todo apologizes for lying and claims that his Boogie Woogie curse technique has already died. Set up with a clean shot from his bro, Yuji lands a devastating direct maximum cursed energy black flash hit to the curse's ribcage, sending him shooting off, smashing into the top part of the crater before finally stopping back above ground. Stumbling around like a complete buffoon now, and back inside of his normal form, Mahito attempts to vomit up more transfigured humans, trying to fight back, but he's completely run out. Strolling up to the curse, Yuji admits that Mahito was right after all. He's him. He wanted to reject Mahito and convince himself that the curse was wrong, but that doesn't matter now. He's gonna murk his ass anyway. Even if he comes back as another curse, he'll kill him. Change your name, face, or form, he'll still be there to kill him. He no longer needs to find some form of meaning or reasoning from exercising curses. Maybe 100 years or so later, after his own death, the meaning of those actions might become apparent. In the grand scheme of things, he's probably nothing more than a cog. But that no longer matters to him, for as long as he lives, this is his role. Seeing Yuji's determination to fulfill his role as a Jujutsu sorcerer, Mahito flees terrified for the approaching doom. Like a wolf running down a hare in the snow, Yuji looks down upon his prey and stalks him with an intent not yet seen. Suddenly, an even greater wolf arrives when Ken Drippy Yaku appears before Mahito asking if he'd like to be saved. So that there brings us to the very end of Yuji and Todo versus Mahito here. Obviously, Yuji doesn't exactly get to close out that kill, which is kind of sad in my opinion. It would have been nice for him to close it out, but it is kind of against his character. He's the whole Batman of the Jujutsu Kaisen universe and everything, so I didn't expect him to, go ahead and actually close it out. At one point I really did though, towards the end of the fight, where he fully turned on Mahito and was like, I know what I am now, I'm a cog. I'm about to dig your grave and put you in it, man, so come here. It was by far the best fight throughout Shibuya. I know it's probably not the most destructive out of all of the fights throughout Shibuya, but in my opinion it's definitely the best just for the story that happens for our main character and everything, Yuji. He finally gets to progress, we get past Mahito and everything, who's the initial main villain, and we move on to more of Kenjaku and find out a little bit more about him and this whole culling game and the setup for all of that. It's a brilliant way to set up that part of the story, and I really liked it. Obviously, I'd love to know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below, so make sure you guys do all leave them down there. If you are new around here, then make sure you do subscribe to keep up to date with a bunch of similar content just like this, but for a whole bunch of other anime series. And of course, make sure to leave a like as well if you have enjoyed the video, as it really helps out with pushing my content to a bunch of new amazing people. Either way, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.